Hi, this is Linda.
And this is Leslie.
And we're here with Let's Talk. And I'm so excited. This is our first episode. Yay! Aren't you excited?
I'm excited.
I'm with my best friend since summer of sixth grade. And we are doing an episode on the virus. And I actually had a friend, Ria, that actually had that experience. And I recorded a small video with her of asking general questions about the virus and just her experience. No more, no less, not that it's real or it's not or anything like that, but just her experience of that virus. And of course, I have to get my best friend, my girlfriend, to talk about it, because this whole thing is about relationships and talking about how we have experiences to help other people. So, are you excited, Leslie?
I'm very excited. And you know, one of the things I have to say about Linda, we have been, like she said, we've been friends since we were 12 years old. I'm not going to say how old we are now, but we've been friends for a long, long time. And she has a passion for people and a passion to see people's lives get better. So this is just a wonderful platform to share Ria's experience about her COVID. And we're going to see what she's gone through and how, and hopefully this is going to be a benefit to you.
Yeah. Now, there are some things I love that you talked about that you felt that they need to catch or to notice. What were some of those things that you said that you liked about the video that they're about to watch?
Well, one of the things that I liked, Linda, was the fact that she talked about those symptoms. Sometimes people feel the virus is so broad that they couldn't narrow it down to what was really bothering them. And in this particular case, she pointed out some very, very detailed things that were going on that caused that alarm to set off. So that was one thing I feel like the audience needs to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Some of the things I noticed was that she noticed the signs. I got headaches all the time, she talked about. And the neat thing is, by having people in our life, like our spouse or just friends, of being aware, hey, you know, you've been complaining about a headache for a while, because I think she said for 10 days she was dealing with that.
Yes.
So how important it is to have a relationship with people and just being real, of just noticing things and calling them out on it. You know, just, I got a headache. You've been saying that every day, Leslie, you got a headache. Maybe you should go to the doctor, you know. So I thought that was important.
And also too, Linda, the vulnerability, because sometimes we have to be vulnerable for the people that care about us and we care about them, so that they can say, hey, they can speak into our lives and say something's not right. And we should be okay with them even pointing that out, because sometimes we feel kind of guarded if we have things going on, especially in light of this coronavirus. If you feel like you have the coronavirus, people are shunning you, they're putting a cross up, they're running from you. But in this
talking.
Everybody's running like 10 feet away. But in this case, she was able to be vulnerable, transparent, and then other people were able to help her along the way.
Even more so, she talks about how her friend posted something on media that her husband had it and want prayer for it, and she knew who to call and ask questions about. I mean, if she would have never saw that, she wouldn't have had somebody to talk to and ask those questions.
That's right, Linda. Very good point. So we have to be aware. We have to be aware of the people around us, and we also have to be socially aware too.
Yeah. And then the other big part that she was talking about was, which I asked, is what can we do to help? And it's so important that we are there for each other. Simple things like, you're so far away that I can't come to visit, but I can call or text you just to see how you were doing.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And what else she was talking about, I asked about what can you do? And she said they didn't have an appetite. Hey, probably soup, or I think it was Pedialyte or something like that.
Yeah, light foods, yes.
Yeah. So it's to the point that we can do something, or even get prescriptions for the person so they won't have to leave the house again.
That's true.
So I really like how you could take this video and realize how you can do, or what you can do to affect somebody else, to make their life easier and to build that relationship.
That's right, Linda, because it's about relationships. Relationships are relating to each other. So
yes.
Good point. I'm excited to hear what she has to say.
Yes. Cool. So let's start the video and let them see it, and then we'll talk again afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. The first question I want to ask is, how did you know you had it? like what was the process? Did you get a cold? Did it feel like a cold? And
Yes, I for the first 2 days, I thought I had a cold. I had a headache and I had a cough, and that lingered for a couple days, and then the symptoms changed to more like flu-like, to where you feel a little nausea going on with that. You've got a temperature the whole time, and even though it's a low temperature, you still have chills and everything. So yeah, it felt like a cold and a flu combined, but worse than that.
wow. And then once you felt like, okay, I might have it because of the symptoms, what did you do next?
Well, after about 5 days, I went ahead and scheduled a COVID test, and they had it locally, so I scheduled for that one. I got my results back pretty quick, 2 days later. But in between the test and the results, I did call my doctor, and he prescribed some medicine for me, a Z-Pak and Tamiflu, because he said, without knowing what it is, they generally treat it as a flu, a cold and flu. And because it wasn't actually a cold and flu, that medicine didn't help me.
Okay. And then can you kind of tell us about the experience of getting the test?
Yeah, it's a long cotton swab, and they actually do the left side and then they do the right side. So you drive up and somebody comes out, they're fully geared up with their gloves and their face protection, and they do the test on you, and then they tell you we'll contact you in 2 to 3 days. And they were accurate with getting me the results.
Okay. And then did you have to go to the hospital? Did you have to stay at home what is the process after that when you got your results?
Well, once I got the results, I called my doctor and let him know. And he had me monitoring my oxygen, my blood pressure. So you have to order those things to keep track. So my oxygen, my blood pressure, my temperature, and I kept track of those every single day, several times. And he did warn me that if the oxygen got down below 92, that it was time to go to the hospital. And so I had read on Facebook that my friend her husband was experiencing the same thing, and he was in the hospital, and they were asking for prayers for him. So I ended up talking to her and told her I'm experiencing the same thing. So she is the one that took me.
Okay. What was your experience like in the hospital? How many days were you there?
I was there for a few days, but the whole experience of getting in is not easy, because they don't necessarily admit you, even though you're positive and you have symptoms. You actually have to be bad enough for them to take you in. And so I think because of my age and because I was dehydrated and I was weak, they took me in. But I think, the age had a lot, because they were concerned of people over 60 at that time. So, it took me half a day to get situated in that hospital, but I found out that COVID causes your blood to clot, and it caused pneumonia. So they call it COVID pneumonia, because they said it's a little different. And so they took a chest x-ray, and that's how they could see that I actually had pneumonia now. And I was low on oxygen, so they immediately put me on oxygen.
Wow. Okay. You said it took 3 days before you came home, right?
Yes, I ended up talking with the infectious nurse right away, and they said that hospital was entitled to do trials. Not all the hospitals can do them, but they definitely can. So they talked to me about doing hydrochloroquine, remdesivir, and they said possibly antibodies and other types of medications as well. So I agreed to it, and they immediately hooked me up to several different IVs, several bags running into, I had a dual IV. So I think I had 5 or 6 bags that were running into that.
Okay.
So,
and then what was your experience after that, going home from that?
Because I got out of there pretty quickly, and they do want to get you out as fast as they can, because they want to, they were so swamped at the time. I don't know that they are anymore, because I think the numbers are going down. But at the time, they were so swamped that they really needed room. And so if you can breathe on your own, they'll let you go home and finish your treatment. So that's what I did. So I had to finish my treatment for a couple weeks.
Okay. And then for us to know if we know somebody that's going through this, how can we help? What can we bring over? Like, did you have an appetite? Like, can I bring a meal over to help somebody? Or, like, what is the best way that someone can help while you're at home recovering?
The one thing that you really need to keep pumping in you is fluids. So, taking somebody water, Gatorade, Pedialyte, those kind of things that have the electrolytes that you're so desperately needing at that time. That would be something good to bring somebody, but the appetite is low. So if you're going to bring anything at all, soup is probably the best thing, because you don't really feel like eating a meal when you're like that. You don't even want to eat half the time, but you have to if you're going to try and fight it. But after 10 days, the fight was over because I had to go into the hospital.
Wow. And then once you got home, how much longer that you actually felt like, okay, I'm back to normal? Or do you feel back to normal yet?
I do feel back to normal. The only time that I ever feel the fatigue is if I do something. If I'm running around outside, running errands, going grocery shopping, and then come home and doing something, maybe laundry, and then I'm wiped out, then I'm tired. And so the fatigue is one thing that it just lingers, and you don't even know that you're fatigued until you do something that causes it. But in the beginning, you're fatigued. It took me, I want to say, a good 2 to 3 weeks before I could say I was even close to normal.
Wow. Okay. And then the other question that I know everybody's thinking is, how do you think you got it?
We can't figure out how I got it because I don't go anywhere or do anything. I go to the store, I go to the ATM, and at that time, I was telling the nurse, I had gone to the ATM every single day for 3 days because our ATMs here weren't functioning. So I kept going back, and there was always a line of people. Some of them don't have masks, and they don't honor your 6-foot space. So, and then you're touching the ATM, which every time I went, I would put some sanitizer on or something. But then I started thinking, did I touch my bank card and put it in my wallet and not clean my wallet? And so we kind of went round and round, but we couldn't figure out where it came from. So we have no idea.
Okay. And then the last question is, did the doctor say there was any side effects that you could or might get or anything like that?
Fatigue, and then he had me watching still my oxygen, my temperature and blood pressure each and every day, just to see if it stayed steady or if it's something was out of whack again. So I did, and it was, I'm doing fine. I still monitor it, and I'm still doing fine. So the only side effect I had was I lost a great deal of hair. I'm continuing to lose my hair. And if I do something, then the fatigue. But other than that, and this is now, a couple months after that. So I'm expecting that this will all subside pretty soon.
That was a really good interview, Linda. I really thought how you brought out some of those points for her, sharing her experience going through that virus. Boy, that must have been a hard experience for her. So thank you for allowing her to share that with our listening audience.
Yeah. I think she still looks so beautiful. I know she talked about her losing her hair and just different experience. And I know that has to be hard for just any female of losing their hair. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was real for her to be honest and do that. And I'm starting to hear more people say that. So that's really important to know. Now, I have a question for you, Leslie. So we talked about the virus and we talked about, just the different symptoms and all that stuff. But when you are sick, what is it like? Because when I'm sick, let me tell you this first. When I'm sick, my favorite thing is saying, I know this sounds so silly, but I think it makes me feel better, at least in my head, is I'm sick. I'm sick. I'm sick. Like I see it all day. I'm sick. I'm sick. I'm sick. And then, so what are you like when you're sick?
Well, when I don't feel well, it seems like my husband knows, and I get a little irritable. So things
Okay.
kind of bother me. And so and our reactions could be one or two ways. One, it could be she's a little irritable, she's not feeling well. But most times it's, what's wrong with you? So when it's that, then it's like, what do you mean, what's wrong with me? So then it creates another drama. So I think that I personally have to know myself in order to know how to share things with my husband, because he is very, very protective. And if I say something's wrong, then his immediate response is he wants to fix it. But sometimes that's not what I want.
Right.
I just want you to hear me. But if your response is to fix it, then I want you to hear me, then there's another conflict. So
But you know what you just said reminds me, like me, when I see I'm sick, I want somebody to be like, oh, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna be okay. I'll sit in here and watch TV with you.
yeah.
But when my husband's sick, it's like, no, go in the other, like, no, give him, like, and he does not want to get sick. So he'll go, I'll sleep on the couch until you feel better. And me, I'll still sleep next to him. I don't care. That's it, like with you guys.
Exactly. So we got to know ourselves. I think that's the key. We have to know ourselves so we don't, in other words, take the bait.
Yeah, and you have to accept who they are. Like, he's not that touchy-feely when I'm sick, because he doesn't want to get sick. So he wants that distance. Now, there's one thing that we do. Okay. And that's, we make homemade soup for each other. So when we're sick, we make soup for each other. We actually cut the vegetables and boil the chicken and just the whole process of doing that soup. And I love it. Do you guys do anything like that?
No. And I'm going to say this because we just went through a situation today that we got some disturbing news about, a situation he's dealing with. And because my mind is, what's wrong with you? You shouldn't be sick. You're the man, blah, blah, blah. It's hard for me to kind of say, oh, honey, you're going to be okay. Let me make you the soup. So once I get past my own little issues that I got going on, I'm just being honest, I get past that, then I can find myself being a little more nurturing to him. But it takes me a minute because it's hard for me to see people who are strong in my mind be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now you need me. I need you to, to be strong, and I see that you need me now. So I need to get past that part and say, we need to help each other even when we're down.
Yes. Even with me, there's one time that he didn't feel like making the soup. He didn't feel like making the soup, so he got a can and tried to give it to me, and I'm sitting here like, this is no, this is not homemade. No, you redo.
Yeah.
And I got to the habit, and we have to watch this because with my other shows and stuff that I do, we talk about expectations. And I got it to become an expectation that when I'm sick, I want homemade soup. And I had to get a mind out of that, because once you start making an expectation that he's supposed to do this, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
He does it because he loves me. He does it because he cares. He does it because he wants me to feel better. He wants me that. And when I start making it that is an expectation that he has to, then it's no more that he wants to. I took away his free will. And when you take away that free will of wanting to do something for something, it's not real. It's not natural anymore. You start becoming like what's the word? Mechanical.
Yeah.
And it doesn't build your relationship. It actually starts to destroy it, because now you're doing it because I don't want to hear your mouth. Instead of I'm doing it because I feel sorry or I feel bad or I hope they feel better. Now it's just, well, if I don't do it, I'm going to hear it. I'm going to hear you complain about it. So you have to be careful of that.
Thank you, Linda, for that advice, because I needed to hear that. So that's good advice. It's very good advice.
Yeah, you have to be aware of that. So when we're sick, we just have to be more aware of what's going on. How are we acting? What is our attitude like? Like sometimes people are grouchy, like don't touch me, leave me alone. They want their space, and that's fine. It's just how you ask for it.
Yeah.
And the partner has to accept that, or their friend, you know, has to accept that. And other people like me wants like, oh, hug me.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, like make it feel better, you know. And then, you know, so it works both ways. It's just taking the time to know you and taking the time to know your partner. And that's a big thing.
Very good advice, Linda. I love that. And you know, I think that's a great segue to just talk about how important relationships are. Just like the saying, life's lessons, love, laughter, making relationships that last. And that's what this is all about.
That's a good quote. You should say that every time. Like at the end, you got to remind them that this is what it's about.
That's
because
right.
We're not living just to have another day to go to work. We're living to build relationships, to laugh, to love, and build and strengthen our relationship with each other. And the weird thing is, when people think of relationships, they think of spouse only or boyfriend only. And it's with our kids, it's with our boss, it's with our coworkers, it's with our neighbors, it's actually with strangers on the freeway, it's you know, the cashier person. We have relationships with the mailman, and we have relationships with all these different people, but we put it in this little box thinking it's just our spouse. And we're missing blessings and knowledge and information and love and just feeling more alive by having these relationships with other people.
That's beautiful. That's very beautifully said, Linda. Good job. I love that.
So,
Yeah.
so this is our first episode. Yay!
So excited.
I know. Is there anything else you want to say? Do you think we should bring up about the coronavirus, about being sick and how we should understand our spouse? Anything else?
I think just to leave the audience with this thought for me, it's so important to love each other. And love looks like different things, but one thing it isn't, and that's it's not selfish. So keep that in mind, especially as we're going through this pandemic and people are going through some really trying times. Let's show love to those who need it the most, and that's our most vulnerable ones.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm so excited. Okay, so we're about to end the episode. Say the quote that we're going to start using all the time.
Okay, well, listen, everybody. Remember, it's all about life's lessons, laughter and love, because what? We're going to make relationships that last.
That sounds so good. I am so excited. So, you guys, thank you for listening, and look forward for both of us to just continue talking about relationships. How do we do a high five? Like, can you, like, is that the right way? Like,
I don't know. High five like this. We can do it like this.
Okay, well, stay tuned for our next episode, and we are bringing another topic on relationships and how to strengthen your marriage, as well as just relationships with your friends and family. Well, stay tuned. My name is Linda.
And I'm Leslie.
And I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.